Hi Flower Spot crew, welcome to another video by me, Brandon at the Flower Spot. Today I'm going to be talking to you about seeding, starting your seeds indoors, why you should get a head start now to extend your season. Why should you start garden seeds inside instead of direct sowing outside? Well, you can extend the season. Up in Canada where we are, we want to get as long of a growing season in as we can. The best time to start is 6 to 8 weeks before last frost. That way we can get a jump start, get these garden veggies started, get them a good size before transplanting them outside. Usually May long weekend. So right here we are now, about 8 weeks out from May long weekend. We're going to start seeding some tomatoes and peppers for my home garden. So I've got some West Coast seeds here. Some people will save their seeds year to year. That's okay. But when your seeds start to get a few years old, they might not have the same germination rate as they first did. Seeds do keep for a very long time, but in the house at room temperature, sometimes with humidity, they can tend to spoil. So it's not necessarily your fault if they don't come up. It could just be the germination rate. It doesn't hurt to grab a new pack of seeds from year to year and just start fresh. So now that you have your garden seeds picked out, we've got some broccoli, some squash, some tomatoes, some peppers. Of course, some things don't need to be started inside. Some things prefer to be direct sown. Things such as carrots, beets, peas, and beans. They don't transplant the best, and they're not very efficient to plant in trays, so they're best started outside. But the seeds I've chosen here, I'm going to be planting in this 50-cell tray. You have options when it comes to trays. We've got larger trays, and we've got the 4-pack, 6-pack style trays. These would be my suggestions. Some people will plant right into a 4-inch or 6-inch pot, but you waste a lot of soil that way. You don't necessarily get as an efficient of a harvest, and you can allow these to dry out a little bit in between watering and control the moisture levels in a smaller tray versus a big pot. I also have a 10 by 20 no-hole tray. This is going to hold the water that drips through the bottom of the tray so I don't make a mess in the house. So to start, I'm going to fill this 105-cell tray with some soil. Soil is not just soil. When you're starting seeds, you want a very fine product, something with peat moss in it, something that's going to hold the moisture, allow the seeds to breathe, yet hold the moisture so they can germinate. Some people ask, can I just use soil from the garden? That's not necessarily the best idea. Garden soil is very heavy. Sure, it holds the moisture, but it doesn't dry out and it doesn't allow those seeds to germinate and sprout through the soil. It's very hard and compact, as well as you can get diseases in the soil that'll transfer year to year, which is not great for a good start at growing your own seeds. Potting soil, a little bit better than garden soil, still not ideal. Potting soil can be very coarse. It can have coarse pieces of perlite in it. It can have wood chunks, which you don't want. And it could be a little bit heavy as well, depending on what type of soil you're using. So if you want the best success this year, use a seed starting soil. This is what we do in production. So I've got the Pro Mix seed starting soil here. I'm going to fill these trays evenly. Level them off with my hands. And just start dimpling slightly for the seed. All seeds like different depths to germinate. So be sure to check on your packages what depth that seed should be planted at. Some only need a light covering, smaller seeds. Some seeds will be planted deep. Peas and beans, when they're planted in your garden, they like to be an inch deep. But the seeds I'm planting today, such as broccoli here, only needs to be planted a 1/4 inch deep. I'm going to put 2 seeds in each cell. This way, if I don't have perfect germination, I should at least have 1 plant in each cell. Later on down the road, I can thin these seeds. I can pinch one off right at the base to ensure that I have a full tray of seedlings. After you set your seeds down at the appropriate planting depth, knowing that they'll have enough energy to break through the soil, it's time to cover them up. So a 1/4 inch down, I'm going to be covering these very lightly. Spreading with my hand. Then it's off to water. Water in with a very fine mist. I have a fine water breaker on this hose here. I'm going to go over it fairly fast so I don't wash anything out. Alternatively, you could always water from the bottom of the tray. Did ya?
I did.
And just like that, these trays will soak up by wicking the moisture through the bottom. So that's just another option for you. Your seeds need 100% moisture to germinate. But that doesn't mean that they want to sit in this water. You're going to want to drain this water after the cells have wicked it up. After your tray is well watered, make sure you drain it so they're not sitting in water. We don't want it to be boggy. They don't like to sit in water to germinate. They just have to be moist around them. I'm going to add a humidity dome to this tray, which is going to hold in all the moisture, keep 100% humidity. I shouldn't have to water these again until they sprouted up. I've got different heights of domes. I've got short domes and tall domes. The tall domes are beneficial after your seedlings have sprouted. You can keep this on there longer. They also have ventilation on the top. So after they've germinated, we can keep these vents open to ensure a little bit less humidity. You can remove the dome occasionally during the day as well. Make sure you put your seedling tray in a nice bright spot once they've germinated, and a fairly warm spot as well. Thanks, Lo. Once a week, you're going to want to fertilize these things. Use a fertilizer such as fish fertilizer or a 10-52-10 at half strength. Half strength will ensure that you don't burn these guys as they grow along. They don't need much fertilizer, but a little bit will help to keep them dark green and healthy and moving on.